The spectacular history of Mount Vesuvius, a towering volcano that dominates southern Italy, matches its commanding presence. It is surrounded by a busy metropolis now, yet in 79 AD, this area was a thriving portion of the Roman Empire. Mount Vesuvius towers 4,203 feet over the landscape of southern Italy, barely 5.6 miles from the contemporary city of Naples. Today, this region is densely populated, with over 3 million inhabitants, thriving cities like Naples, and numerous small towns and villages. However, in 79 AD, this same region was an important part of the Roman Empire, with affluent cities such as Pompeii and Herculaneum only 4.3 miles away. These cities, along with smaller surrounding settlements like Stabiae, Oplantis and Boscorial, benefited from a mild Mediterranean climate, fertile volcanic soil ideal for vineyards and agriculture, and close access to the sea. But what made the area so rich and appealing would eventually become its most serious threat. Herculaneum, located near Pompeii, was a quieter, wealthier town that served as a beach vacation for Rome's elite. Herculaneum, which had a population of around 4,000 to 5,000 people, offered marvelous buildings with sumptuous designs, private bath facilities, and a spectacular sea view. Both cities were bustling, with signs of a thriving trade and artistic culture. Herculaneum, for example, was home to the Villa of the Papyri, one of the ancient world's largest estates, complete with sculptures, mosaics, and an enormous library of scrolls, some of which were only discovered centuries later. Life in these towns, at the center of Roman civilization, appeared lovely. Despite the appearance of peace, there were indications that something was amiss. For many years, the region had been subjected to regular earthquakes, including a devastating quake in 62 AD that devastated Pompeii and other towns around the Bay of Naples. However, the residents considered these tremors part of life in a seismically active region and had largely rebuilt their homes and public places, unaware that these were signs of something a lot worse. Mount Vesuvius had not erupted in decades, so the Romans did not even recognize it was a volcano. It appeared to be just another mountain on the horizon, covered in green slopes and cultivated for agriculture and wine. They had no idea that deep beneath the mountain, pressure was mounting. All that changed on August 24, 79 AD. The entire region was stunned when Mount Vesuvius erupted with such ferocity around noon. A massive column of gas, pumice, and volcanic ash shot over 19 miles into the sky. The eruption's initial phase, dubbed the Plinian phase, was named for the Roman historian Pliny the Younger, who observed the eruption from across the Bay of Naples. Pyroclastic flows, the eruption's worst phase, began at midnight. These are superheated avalanches that are traveling quickly and consist of gas, ash, and volcanic rock. They are between 300 and 700 degrees Celsius. With their top speeds of 430 miles per hour, these flows completely destroyed anything in their path. It was only the beginning for Mount Vesuvius. During the Plinian phase, hours of pumice and ash falling were followed by a horrifying new stage of the eruption that would alter thousands of people's lives. This was no typical volcanic outburst. The incident we are discussing was so strong that it alternated between two lethal forces consecutively. A terrifying pyroclastic surge raced across the countryside like a battering ram of molten gas and rock. First, there was an ash column that reached up to 21 miles into the sky. Let's break it down. During the Plinian period, so called for Pliny the Younger, who was there to see it, Vesuvius continuously threw a column of ash and pumice skyward. Pumice stones, some the size of fists, covered Pompeii for almost 18 hours, while ash fell like a snowstorm from a volcano. Houses started to crumble beneath the weight. People rushed to get out, but there were no escape routes because of how heavy the pumice fall was. It was apocalyptic. But here's the wild part: while Pompeii was being pummeled, Herculaneum was in a completely different situation. Herculaneum, which is upwind and west of Vesuvius, saw little to no pumice fall at this early stage. Even though the locals might have believed they were saved, the peace would soon end. Following several hours of non-stop eruption, the dynamics changed. Vesuvius fundamentally altered its strategy. Stage B started when the massive ash column fell down on top of itself, causing pyroclastic flows. Lava was not the only thing pouring down the mountain. These flows were composed of volcanic rock, ash, and superheated gas that moved quickly. Imagine a furious stream of ash and fire that is so hot it can melt anything in its path as it rushes down the slopes at up to 435 miles per hour. The first of these pyroclastic flows barreled directly into Herculaneum. The city vanished in an instant, with all of its structures, inhabitants, and gas and fire heated to almost 300 degrees Celsius. The survivors had little chance. Those who had taken refuge in the boat homes near the shore were engulfed, and their corpses were instantly destroyed. In a matter of seconds, 65 feet of volcanic material covered Herculaneum. Pompeii, in the meantime, was holding out. For the time being. The worst was still to come, even if Pompeii's clock was running out. The Plinian phase's towering ash column and the pyroclastic surges falling hellfire were now alternate features of the eruption. This lethal cycle would recur 6 times. Pompeii had endured constant ashfall in the early phases of the eruption, enough to cause roof collapses and confine some occupants within their dwellings. But things got more scarier when Stage B developed and the pyroclastic flows began to pour down Vesuvius. With searing heat and relentless speed, these pyroclastic surges moved. With each cycle, the surges carried fine ash and toxic fumes that traveled faster and farther. Pompeii was doomed by the time the third and fourth surges were unleashed. The surges eventually reached the city at 6:30 a.m. It was too late for the Pompeians who had opted to stay or who were unable to flee in time. Pompeii was affected hard by the pyroclastic flow, which quickly engulfed the city in a cloud of scorching ash and gas before the locals could react. Those that were exposed were knocked down and suffocated right away. It was predicted that the temperatures in the pyroclastic flow reached up to 300 degrees Celsius, which is deadly in a matter of seconds. Despite their best efforts to stay inside their homes, people were engulfed in ash, which seeped through all openings. Those who were hiding inside were also suffocated by the heat and gas. Pompeii was momentarily frozen in time. 4 to 6 meters, 6 to 20 feet of volcanic material covered the city. And a whole metropolis vanished out of existence without warning. Subsequently, archaeologists found the horrific remains of Pompeii's last moments' bodies preserved in the exact postures in which they had passed away, some crouching, others protecting their loved ones from impending death. The eruption ended in total devastation, having started so brilliantly with a towering column of ash. Buried for almost 1,700 years beneath layers of ash and pumice, Pompeii was once a bustling Roman metropolis. A succession of massive pyroclastic surges and ashfall waves have been released during the eruption. Vesuvius buried an area of more than 77 square miles in ash and debris by the time it was over. Not alone were Pompeii and Herculaneum buried that day, but so were numerous more towns. One of the most catastrophic volcanic eruptions in recorded history, the tragedy of 79 AD was unlike anything else in Roman history. Pompeii and Herculaneum were rediscovered in the 18th century when excavations began to unearth their long-buried treasures. The discoveries made by archaeologists were astounding. Entire cities immobilized in space with streets, residences, businesses, and even the items in people's kitchens conserved by the volcanic ash. In particular, Pompeii has offered an extraordinarily comprehensive picture of Roman society, with everything from opulent homes to graffiti providing insights into the daily lives of those who lived there. Due to Herculaneum's extraordinary preservation, we can now see some of the most comprehensive depictions of life in the ancient Roman world, including delicate items like food, wooden furniture, and even scrolls. The story of Pliny the Younger, who witnessed the eruption from across the Bay of Naples, is among the most important sources of information we have on the catastrophe. He likened the ash cloud to a pine tree. In his writings, describing its broad base that grew into a massive cloud of smoke and ash that resembled an umbrella, he described the fear, the darkness, and the shaking of the ground as Vesuvius let loose its wrath. Renowned naturalist Pliny the Elder, Pliny's uncle, set out toward the eruption in an effort to save people caught in the falling ash. Sadly, he was overtaken by the poisonous fumes near Pompeii and died during the effort. The remains of Herculaneum and Pompeii serve as a sobering reminder of both the transient nature of human existence and the force of nature today. They provide us with an amazing window into the past, a world stopped in time by a calamity that the people who experienced it could not have imagined. However, Mount Vesuvius is still active while we investigate these historic ruins, serving as a warning that history can repeat itself.